Treat yourself, this is rule number 2, treat yourself like you are someone you are responsible for helping. That's a hard one. There's an injunction, a moral injunction, that you should treat other people like you would like to be treated yourself. The golden rule, let's say. And rather than he who has the gold makes the rules, right? That's not an injunction to sacrifice yourself in some unending way for the benefit of other people, which is often how it's interpreted. And it's not that. It's advice in relationship to reciprocity. And this is something really worth knowing. I've been thinking about this for a long time, because I got interested in the nature of malevolence and motivation for atrocity. I got interested in the nature of evil, and certainly as a consequence of studying atrocious behavior at the clinical level, and then also at the political and economic and sociological level, I definitely became convinced that it's a very naive person indeed who doubts the existence of evil. I think it's easier to become convinced of the reality of evil than it is to become convinced of the reality of good. It's easier to define evil than it is to define good. But if you can specify the nature of evil, you help yourself infer the existence of good, because you can say to yourself, you can conclude that whatever good is, difficult though it may be to put your finger on it, it's the opposite of evil. I did have this inkling, way years ago when I taught at Harvard, I was teaching about very dark things, about individual motivation for the sort of acts that characterized, say, the worst atrocities of the Holocaust and the catastrophic situation with regards to Stalinist Russia. Those were the 2 places I focused on the most. And I had this voice in the back of my head always when I was lecturing, very serious lectures, that if I could really manage those lectures properly, I would do it with a sense of humor. And I thought, that just cannot be right. How in the world can you deal with a topic that dark in a manner that's playful? If you have children, young children, you get to partake in that if your eyes are the least bit open, because one of the things that's absolutely wonderful about young children and having them around, and the way in some sense they pay you for the painstaking care that you need to exercise when you're caring for them, is that they enable you to see the world through fresh eyes and to see things in their untrammeled by cynicism glory. And it's hard to open yourself up to that, especially if you're an adult who's built layers of shells around yourself for any number of reasons. But children offer you that opportunity. And so one of the reasons that you should become as a little child is so that you can see miracles when they unfold in front of you, instead of being blinded by your own defensive cynicism. And children can definitely help with that. But also, children play. And we sort of stop playing as we grow older, and we think we mature out of it, but that's not right. One of the reasons I think that we've had somewhat of an explosion of unhappiness and mental illness, particularly among women, by the way, over the last 30 years, is because a lot of what we've done inadvertently has interfered with children's ability to play. And so, for example, it's very hard for boys to play in school because almost everything they're required to do is antithetical to the rough and tumble ethos of masculine play. That's really hard on young boys. And with young girls, I was talking, I believe it was to Jonathan Haidt recently, a famous psychologist in the United States, and he said that girls have almost stopped doing patty cake and skipping and that sort of thing. And these are deeply embodied forms of play that might be something like the female equivalent of rough and tumble play among males. And that rough and tumble play is a form of embodied dance, because if you're wrestling, and fathers really like to do this with their kids, and kids really like it, and they really need it. It teaches you the extent of your body, it teaches you how to twist your body and to push it to its limits and to expose yourself to fear